It's time for CityBeat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
I'm Molly Gibson Kirby, and this is CityBeat. Today, Mayor Tim Johnston is in the studio to give us updates on what's going on in Thompson. If you have any questions you want answered, call in to 677-8181, or you can email chtm@arcticradio.ca. To get started, Tim, what kept you busy this past week?
Well, over the last week, I was spent most of it actually out of the city, attending the Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference in Niagara Falls, along with Councillor Hogan and City Manager Sepatelli, and that was a good opportunity in terms of catching up with what other municipalities are doing right across this country. And so I had the opportunity not just to network with mayors and councillors from right across the country, but to attend a couple of the sessions. And two of the ones that I would raise, one I attended a session on housing, and I attended a session on public safety. And I can tell you, I actually conveyed to some residents here while I was out there communicating with them, and I was so proud that, in all honesty, Thompson is on the leading edge in terms of what's being done across this country in so many ways. And whether it's the affordable housing initiatives with things like Project Northern Doorway, the Housing First model that we're moving forward with, that the rest of the country is just starting to implement, and or it's the public safety initiatives in terms of, again, focusing on some of the root causes and the social conditions. Very proud of the fact that Thompson is on the leading edge, and we are seeing a difference, and it is making a difference, and many others are looking at us to follow. So that's what really struck me about the conference this year, is that I truly believe we are on the right track, and it is making a difference. So it was good to go out to the conference. I always enjoy it. You get to touch base with mayors and councillors from across the country, and so I appreciate the support of council in enabling Thompson to be represented.
Go ahead.
In addition, a couple other things just to mention. Obviously, back in the city now, and I note that when I returned, it's significantly more green. The leaves are coming out, so despite what the weather forecast is saying, I think we made the transition to summer. We might have a bit of a blip this week. In saying that, that means our crews are out and about doing the street sweeping and continuing to get the community spruced up, which is great, because I had proclaimed the Communities in Bloom Week from June the 2nd to the 8th, and I encourage residents to get out and get involved in making Thompson a cleaner and more appealing community. I am a firm believer that people and residents all have a responsibility to the community. One level of government, whether it's the municipal, federal, or provincial, will not address building communities. Residents and people build communities, and so we need everyone to help out, whether it's beautifying the community or, again, my pet peeve, making sure that we aren't encouraging litter in the community. So I'm very pleased. I was impressed with how the community looked when I got back, having been away for a few days, and appreciate all the efforts, whether it's in the cleanup or, again, people getting out and supporting Communities in Bloom.
So we've had a lot of questions on online forums and emails to us about litter, actually, especially on the highway between the outskirts of the city and the landfill, being filled with garbage, and some say it's a poor greeting to visitors and residents. Who's responsible for this cleanup?
Well, it's a very interesting one, and this is one of the challenges that we have. First and foremost, let me say this, that the city boundaries extend to Seal Road in the south. So anything from Seal Road in north is the responsibility of the city of Thompson, either through the RCMP or by law enforcement in terms of litter and controls. I want to be clear, the waste disposal site is operated by the LGD. It has always been operated by the LGD from the inception of Thompson. The City of Thompson is probably one of the largest clients at the LGD, but we do not operate the LGD. We are not the ones responsible for the $10 fee, although I absolutely agree with it, because you have to make sure the dump is operating. The area between Seal Road and the waste disposal grounds is Manitoba Highways and the province of Manitoba. But we all have an obligation, and we've all been working together, the City of Thompson, the province, and the LGD, in terms of encouraging people to secure their loads properly between the city and the waste disposal grounds, not to overload their vehicles and lose things along the way, and then ultimately to encourage people not to litter. There's nothing worse than coming into our community and for the last 3 miles all people see is garbage in the ditch. I want to thank those people. I know we've had people out picking up the garbage on either side, and it's been significantly better over the last couple of years. But again, this is one of those things that should be the easiest problem in the world to solve because we just create it. People do it. So we have to stop that behavior. I think most people should do it out of a civic responsibility. Unfortunately, there's those that perhaps don't see it that way, and then you have to use enforcement. So between the dump and the waste disposal grounds, again, it's the RCMP that responsible for patrolling. And believe me, I don't have much sympathy for anyone that would be caught littering. But again, it's up to everyone's responsibility to make sure that we encourage people to keep Thompson beautiful. But officially, the jurisdictions, as I said, the city up to the boundaries of Seal, and then the LGD is responsible for the Operation Waste Disposal Grounds.
Would the city and the LGD ever consider like a 1 week landfill fees to be stopped so people actually are more promoted to go to the landfill and dispose of it properly?
Well, and again, during the spring cleanup, there is a Saturday that is provided free of charge so people can move their products out. We are constantly, I think it might, there's a reduction in the cost. We constantly work with the LGD to look at opportunities in terms of making it easier for people. And I've heard all the concerns about the hours of operation and the fact there's a fee. And, you know, I would love to be able to say it's free and it's open 24/7. But there's a reality to the world. You couldn't possibly afford to have that. And what we've seen in the past, unfortunately, is at times when we have opened it up, people don't follow the rules in terms of putting it where it's supposed to go. So by regulation of the province, we have to have, the LGD has to have it manned. And therefore, there has to be cost to offset that. And I don't accept for a minute the excuse that $10 is too expensive to pay if you have garbage to take to the dump. I mean, come on, give me a break. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And if that's the measure or level of civic and community pride, then there's our problem, not the fact there's a $10 fee at the waste disposal ground.
Okay, so earlier you talked about how you went to a conference in Ontario. The CFIB recently released a study that shows municipalities are overspending, which is causing households almost $8,000 extra over the past decade. How is Thompson faring in this?
Well, I'll tell you this. We just, I think in terms of overall, I'm satisfied with the level of service that we provide to residents based on what we are asking for from ratepayers in terms of taxation. The Portage La Prairie just released a study of Manitoba. I believe we're 6th in terms of the top 11 communities in terms of our municipal tax structure. And more importantly, I think we give very good value. There's long been an expectation by ratepayers in Thompson of what they receive for their taxes. Things like clearing the ends of driveways, which we challenged, and the public was very clear. They want to see those things. So there's a reality. I think we continue to provide fair value. As I've said, we were just very pleased to share our budget for next year with the community, and we'll continue to do that. People have to understand there's a reality of the costs, especially so many of those costs that relate to legislation and the requirement. I think that the challenge, and we talked about it at FCM, the infrastructure deficit in this country is staggering. And the municipalities have limited ability in terms of legislation. Legislation from both the federal and the provincial government, which we've seen especially in the last 20 or 30 years, which has downloaded responsibilities to the municipalities, but hasn't increased the opportunity for revenues. Just at FCM, I believe it's 8 cents out of every tax dollar goes directly to the municipality for work. The rest goes to senior levels of government. So I've always said there's a tax disparity in terms of how it's shared. I wouldn't necessarily agree we need to pay drastically higher taxes in the country. I think we're taxed appropriately. I just don't believe the sharing of that tax is appropriate in terms of the 3 levels of government.
Okay, so you had the chance to talk to other mayors and municipalities all throughout Canada. Talking to them, what came through your mind of the biggest thing that Thompson needs to improve on as a municipality?
Well, there is no doubt in my mind, right across Canada, the single greatest issue facing municipalities, infrastructure. That is it, bar none. I think that if you would ask me 5, 10 years ago, it was public safety. I think that there's been huge strides in that, and we're seeing nationally the trends going the right way. We're seeing locally the trends going the right way. So by far, infrastructure is the issue. The infrastructure deficit that municipalities face and their ability to address those is huge. So very clearly, FCM and municipalities are asking for a greater share of the tax revenues to be provided for infrastructure projects. We've just had the federal government announce the newest infrastructure program, and yet we don't have all the details. So the likelihood is the new program, we're going to be challenged to get some of that money flowing this year. Fortunately, in Thompson, we've been very innovative and creative in terms of the accommodation tax going to infrastructure, in terms of the contribution by Valley to the GIL for infrastructure. So we're going to be doing some projects. But really, I believe this country has to, and the federal government has to come out with a realistic contribution and commitment to renewing infrastructure, because and you've seen the stories right across this country, certainly in Manitoba, in terms of the especially the underground infrastructure, water breaks, things like that. So that's clearly the single biggest issue that I saw at FCM.
Would public safety also be in maybe the top three because of crime rate still in Thompson being the highest in Canada?
I think overall, I think public safety certainly would be up there, but significantly behind infrastructure. That's clearly the issue. Because again, and also even in Thompson, I'm looking forward to the crime severity index, because the things that we're doing, as I said, I really believe we are on the leading edge, and those things are having a payoff. National stats are trending in the right way. Locally, we saw a large reduction in crime last year on a percentage basis. I think we'll see the same thing this year. That doesn't just happen. That happens because of the coordinated efforts and the introduction of programs. And I think because it was the priority 5, 10 years ago, municipalities spent a lot of time on planning and implementing programs to deal with it. We're seeing the benefit of those programs and plans over the last 5 or 10 years, even locally. Things like the extreme cold weather policy had a huge positive impact for us. Things like Project Northern Doorway are having a huge impact for us. The Detox Center will have an impact. The policing initiatives and the priorities, gangs, drugs, things like that, domestic violence, are having a huge impact because we're focusing on those things. And I think that that's been very positive. That's a result of a concerted effort. What I'm hearing clearly is, from across this country, the next concerted effort has to be on infrastructure.
Okay, so you talked about the cold weather policy. How did that go this past winter?
Actually, it exceeded our wildest expectations, in all honesty. We kept, I think it's close to 700 people off the streets in extreme cold weather, and at very little cost to the taxpayers. We heat the outdoor park buildings 24/7 anyways. Because of a great partnership with Canadian Mental Health, Kuwaitan Tribal Council, Thompson Neighborhood Renewal Corporation, we were able to open those facilities. We didn't have a single incident in terms of damage or any public safety issues, and I was very proud. Unfortunately, Portage la Prairie, Brandon, Winnipeg, Toronto, all lost individuals over the last winter because of extreme cold weather. Thompson, Manitoba, which far exceeded in terms of weather, we didn't. More importantly, and this is the key, by implementing that program, we've had the Regional Health Authority, the RCMP, Thompson Fire and Emergency Services, all come to us and tell us that their demand for services decreased. That's what planning, that's what programs do. And I think that, again, that's why we've seen the trends that we're seeing in public safety. Now we have to do the same thing on infrastructure. And again, I think Thompson is leading the edge. Having a corporation, there wasn't a single municipality that I spoke to at FCM that has a corporation like Valley contributing specifically to infrastructure renewal. That's because we took the time over the last few years, and Valley management locally listened to the concerns. And I'll never forget Councillor Smith, when he was a member of council, saying, we talk about recruitment and retention. It's pretty hard to get someone thrilled about living here as if they have to go through a 10-foot wide hole in the road outside their driveway every day. So I think we're heading in the right direction again on infrastructure. We've had corporations buy in. We've been very innovative with the accommodation tax. So those are good things, and we're going to continue that. I just truly believe that there has to be a real commitment by the federal and provincial government over long haul with real dollars and a sharing. And I think it's a permanent flow of money for municipalities that is needed to address the infrastructure program, because you're seeing catastrophic failures right across this country now.
We've actually run out of time, so I'll give you some time to give your listeners a goodbye.
Well, the big one that I want to convey, I just had the opportunity because the commanding officer for Manitoba, Commanding Officer Brazeau, was in Thompson from the RCMP on part of his regular visits, and we like to sit down when he's here. Unfortunately, today was a little not quite as enjoyable in that the situation that's taking place in Moncton. And on behalf of the residents of Thompson, I expressed my condolences and our sympathy to the RCMP. It's an unfortunate reality in this world today that these situations take place, and I have nothing but the utmost respect and pride in our local emergency services, whether it's the RCMP or Thompson Fire and Emergency Services, for the work that they do and the courage and the commitment they have to making communities a better place. So it's just a terrible incident that took place. And again, I offer our condolences. The RCMP are the best in the business, and I always appreciate the work and the efforts that they put in. And every member needs to be thanked, whether, again, RCMP, Fire and Emergency Services, for the work that they do. And they go into situations when everyone else is going out. So just convey those thoughts and our prayers.
All right, this has been CityBeat for today. Join us again next Thursday for more questions and answers with the mayor. For 1029 CHTM, I'm Molly Gibson Kirby.